Waterproofing and downproofing. Waterproofing is the act or process of making something waterproof. The condition of being made waterproof and the something capable of imparting waterproofness, such as coating. So waterproofing versus compared to dampproofing, often terms the waterproofing and dampproofing are incorrectly interchanged. According to ASTM definitions, waterproofing is the treatment of a surface to prevent the passage of liquid in the presence of hydrostatic pressure. Dampproofing is the treatment of a surface to retard the absorption of moisture in the absence of hydrostatic pressure. So there is a difference between the absence and the presence of hydrostatic pressure. So in the presence of hydrostatic pressure, there is a continuous water, no, or presence of water that has pressure that is acting upon the wall, the floor, the foundation of the structure. In dampproofing, there is what you call absence of hydrostatic pressure, but there is presence of moisture. Okay, and it is absorbed by the wall, floor, ceiling, and any parts of the concrete structure. Virtually all building envelopes, particularly below-grade areas and plaza decks, encounter hydrostatic pressure from water during their lifetime. So in this figure, it is shown that the concrete, water penetrates the concrete in different ways. Like in this, on the left side, you can see that there is honeycombs, or large voids on the concrete. So it means that when you pour the concrete, there is an absence of concrete in some areas of the concrete wall, slab, or floor. Okay? So it means on that honeycomb, water will stay on that honeycomb. And when the water stays on that honeycomb, there will be presence of water, and it may seep or pass through the porosity of the concrete on the other side of the wall. Another one is the cracks. If there are cracks on the concrete, water will penetrate the concrete through the cracks. Another one is the joints. Buildings often have joints because of the span of the building, because of the movement of the building. Sometimes it's because of addressing earthquake. Sometimes it's there because it addresses vibrations. So on those joints, there will be an instance that water will penetrate. So it means that you need to address the connection of the joints of the building. Another one is the capillary action, which the characteristic of the concrete to absorb water, because water is porous. It will absorb water. So there is a possibility that water will be passing through the concrete because of the absorption through the pores. Another one is the hydrostatic pressure, forces on the other side of the wall, other sides of the slab or the deck, that will push the water and penetrate the pores of the concrete. So as you can see, penetration through openings, through the joints, the cracks or the voids, or penetration through the concrete because of the capillary action and the hydrostatic pressure. So there is this characteristic of the concrete, that water can penetrate through these concrete structures. So the water also have a certain mechanism to penetrate, aside from the reaction of the concrete, the water to the structure. There is what you call the permeation, where the water penetrates to the wall, and there is what you call the weak action, when the water absorbed, when the water passed through, is absorbed through dampness and then penetrates the upper side of the structure. And another one is by salt in the drainage, because water, the salt, no, is produces water in if it's stored in a few days or weeks, no. So if there is presence of salt on the drainage, there will be presence of water. Okay, so permeability refers to the amount of water migration through concrete when the water is under pressure, and also the ability of concrete to resist penetration of any substance, be it liquid, gas, or chloride ion. Permeability of concrete is defined as the property that controls the rate of flow of fluids into a porous solid. In this case, this is the concrete. It largely depends on the size of the pores, connectivity of pores, and how the tortuous the path is the permeating fluid. So what is the factors? What are the factors affecting the concrete permeability? The water-cement ratio. Water to cement ratio influences the concrete permeability to a great extent. The higher the water-cement ratio, the greater the concrete permeability. Okay, so another is the compaction concrete. The compaction of concrete. When concrete is adequately compacted, all air voids and trap bleed between the concrete are eliminated. Because when you are pouring concrete on columns or on retaining walls or on slabs, no, you need to make sure that the concrete is compacted, adequately compacted, so that there will be no voids, no honeycombs. No? As a result, pores and more constantly interconnected pores are avoided, and eventually concrete permeability is declined if there is adequate compaction. So we use concrete vibrator, or sometimes we use metal rods, no, to make sure that there is what you call to prevent the void space or the honeycomb inside concrete structures. No? So as you honeycomb is one of the characteristics that your concrete parts or concrete components are not does not meet the standard. So curing of the curing of concrete substantially influences the permeability of concrete. Sufficient curing allows proper cement hydration. No, so if you cure the concrete properly, hydration will be properly addressed. No? And other factors that affects the permeability is the age of the concrete. No, if the building is old, no, there will be a concrete permeability. Another one is the cement properties. If you are using the right type of cement for the right type of construction, the sizes of aggregates also will affect the permeability of the concrete. The use of admixture. So there are certain admixture that you can use to address the permeability of the concrete. Another one is the loss of mixing water. No? So if there is, if you have provided not enough water in your concrete mixture, there is a possibility that the concrete mixture is not will not meet the permeability standards. No? Permeability declines as the concrete age increases because pores will be filled by hydration product. So this is the weak action. As you can see in the weak action, is the transport of water to concrete elements. To concrete elements, no, from the phase, no, in contact with water. So this is the phase in contact with water to the drying phase. This is the drying phase that occurs at the basement and tunnel slab in the hollow offshore structure. So water on the other side of the structure, which is the side that is exposed to water. So there will be a what you call a weak action, that the water will be collected by the lower part, which is frequently exposed with water, and it will be rising, no, to the side of the wall, no? And there will be a wicking action, no, the wicking forces pull the water up to the concrete. So the water will be uh, uh, rising, no, on the concrete wall, and you can see now traces of moisture on this side, no, because of the wicking action or the wick action. And there will be ponding of water underneath the slab, the concrete slab, on the other side, because water will be uh, transferring from this side to the other side. Okay, so this should be prevented. Okay, this should be prevented. Another one is the intrinsic cracks. No, intrinsic cracks. This is the small cracks that is a problem of waterproofing. No, if you will be putting admixtures to your waterproof, to your concrete mixture, no, so that like other brands that we use in admixtures for waterproofing, but this is not sufficient because of the intrinsic cracks. No? Because the intrinsic cracks will be the one that will be the factor for water penetration. Because if there are cracks, water will penetrate through the cracks, as we have seen in the previous slide. So as you can see in this figure, on letter E, this is cracks on slab. No, the plastic shrinkage, no, type of cracking, plastic shrinkage. No, this is the type of cracking in the floor slab. So there will be 30 minutes to 6 hours. No? You can see. So we should prevent these cracks to prevent the water penetrating the slab, even on the parapet wall or on the retaining wall or on the columns. No? Water penetrating on the columns will make the reinforcement rust. No? So that when the reinforcement rust, it will shrink. No? And it will shrink. No? It will affect the structural stability of the column or the building. Okay, so waterproofing. So building waterproofing is a process which is designed to prevent water from penetrating a building. Usually, extensive waterproofing measures are added to a building at a time of construction to provide moisture control from the start. Waterproofing may also be done after a building is built to address problems as they emerge or as a part of building retrofit. So you can do the waterproofing before construction, during construction, or after construction while retrofitting the building. So there are different types of waterproofing system that you can use, and we will explain that in the next lecture. Waterproofing is done in various parts of the building, which include the toilets, the bathrooms, the terrace, the roofs, basement, swimming pools, underground ducts. Waterproofing will also maintain the appearance of the building. So it is also important that you properly waterproof the exterior of your building so that it will make the paint will last longer, the color of the building will last longer if there is a good waterproofing on the building. Okay, so these are the different ways to waterproof a structure. So why waterproof structure? No, in building construction, a structure needs waterproofing since concrete itself will not be watertight on its own. No, but you can put additives, no, for the concrete to be watertight. No, but it is not that reliable. Okay, so the conventional system of waterproofing involves membrane. Okay. This relieves the application of one or more layers of membrane. Available various materials like bitumen, silicate, PVC, EDM, EDPM, EPDM, and others shall act as a barrier between the water and the building structure, preventing the passage of water. Because the additive will not be enough to prevent the water from passing through the structure, the concrete structure for a long period of time. Okay, so a safer foundation, it is also used for safer foundation, waterproofing. Exposure to weather conditions like heavy rain, sunlight cause structural problems. And if wooden decks, example, are not properly waterproof, we can notice discoloration, water stains, rotting, and fungi growth. Walls that properly waterproof will give hydrostatic pressure, creating cracks and leaks on the walls and floor. So if you did not do your waterproofing on the exterior of your building, there will be occurrence of water seepage, water hydration, water cracks on the wall, paint will be chipped off, or the paint will be will be peeling, will be peeling from the surface of the wall. So another reason why we waterproof our structure is for healthier environment. Humidity and moisture is what molds and mildew want. So molds and mildew could cause respiratory problems like asthma and trigger allergic reaction. So there is no way to remove the fungi spores inside the house, and the only thing that could remove such growth would be the control of moisture. So if there will be absence of moisture, there will be what you call the molds and mildews will be decreased. No? Molds do not only grow on walls or areas where there are moisture issues. It could grow on anything like wood, carpet, even the food. No? Even the furnitures, it can grow molds in bacteria or mildews and fungi. No? By reducing humidity, it means that moisture content inside the room, preventing condensation and water seepage, mold and mildew growth could be increased. Another one is to eliminate insect growth, which is why we waterproof, because we want to eliminate the insects. There are the various kinds of insects like water bugs, cockroach, beetles, critters that find heaven in damp areas. So you will find cockroach, ants on areas that is very damp. Okay, so we must prevent this by using waterproofing or damp proofing. Wet basements are ideal for wood-boring insects like termite to reproduce. So if you have a part of the building that is exposed to water and you did not treat that part of building, in case if it's wood, the termites, it may grow on that part of that building. So these insects could damage not only the foundation, but also to important things inside the room. So it can also eat your files. It can eat the termites can eat your furnitures. It can eat your books. Okay, so you need to so it is very important to have a waterproof structure. So where do you apply waterproofing? We can apply waterproofing on the positive side. Waterproofing, it is on the external part that is exposed to the hydrostatic pressure. The negative side, which is inside the building, which is shown in this figure. This is the positive side, and this is the negative side. The blind side, this is the basement. Okay, and the interior application like in bathroom floorings, kitchen floorings, they put waterproofing on these areas. If you will be building an apartment building, multi-floor apartment building, you will definitely put waterproofing on the kitchen area. And it's very important to put waterproofing in the exterior of the building. So this is the positive side waterproofing. If in case this is the concrete and this is the water pressure and this is the interior part of the building, you put a coating or a membrane on the outside of the building. So this is called the positive side of waterproofing. It can be in the lower ground, it can be on the upper ground. Okay, it is designed to stop water before it has a chance to enter the structure and cause structural damage. It will prevent the water to penetrate the concrete. And this is the most effective solution. Okay? So another is the negative side waterproofing. This has downside, but this is also a type of waterproofing. It is on the interior part of the house or the basement. So interior side opposite the water pressure side of the structure. So this can be the firewall, or this can be a firewall that's frequently exposed to weather. If there is something like this, or this can be done in most remedy work, no? In case that there is a existing what you call a soil on the other side and you cannot dig the soil anymore, you can put a waterproofing membrane on the negative side. This can also be used on the elevator pits or the tank liners, the concrete tanks, no, concrete cistern tanks. No, you can put a negative side waterproofing on the concrete cistern tank. Okay, so the blind side waterproofing is the positive side applied prior to installing the structural walls or slab. So this is the one that this is the areas of the building or the structure that you cannot access after the building has been erected. No? Typically inaccessible after the structure is complete. In many cases, this is the only positive side waterproofing option. So there are what you call membrane waterproofing, plastic membrane waterproofing that is usually or commonly laid on the foundation before pouring concrete to protect your foundation from penetration of water. So this is a thick plastic that is being laid on the foundation or the slab before pouring concrete. If you have this will prevent the water penetrating the tiles of your lower floor, your ground floor. Another is the interior application. So in the interior application, you can either use a positive side or a negative side waterproofing. If you will put the negative side in the interior, it will be seen on the elevator pits or if it is used for retrofitting. If the positive side, it can be used on the split slabs, the bathrooms, the flooring of the bathrooms, the laboratories, if you have laboratories in the school, the mechanical rooms, in case that you have the air handling units, or for protection of the what you call this, the panel boards. So you need to put waterproofing on the positive side to prevent the panel boards from getting moisture. Kitchens, and the fountains and planters. So these are the positive side for the interior application. Another one is for the exterior application. This is the positive side: foundation walls, plaza decks, tunnels, parking decks, balconies, bridge decks, planters, and roofing. And for the blind side waterproofing for exterior, you can see this in the soil retention system, or the party walls, or the firewalls, the cut and cover tunnels, the under slab, okay, the elevator pits, and the underpinning. Okay, so these are the different application of waterproofing on the exterior of the building. So now we go to damp proofing or the dampness. What is the dampness? Presence of hygroscopic or gravitational moisture. It means that the moisture will be penetrating on the bottom or on the top, and it will seep on the what you call this, the wall, and it will you can see the water penetration on the other side, on different areas, not exactly on the area where the water is penetrating. So damp prevention is therefore one of the important factors for building design, because as you can see this, there may be water pans on this area, and it will rise, the water will rise, and it will be seen on the lower part of your house. Okay, that is what you call dampness. So the causes of dampness: moisture rising up the walls from the ground, or rain travel from that wall tops going down. Okay, that will also cause dampness. Rain beating against the external wall. So if in case that your wall is doesn't have a positive waterproofing, rain will cause dampness. This is usually seen on walls that are not on the firewall side. If your facade is frequently exposed to rain, you may experience dampness on your front facade of the building. Poor drainage at the site of the building. If there are poor drainage in the perimeter of the building, water will penetrate at the ground floor. Another is defective construction. If there are lots of cracks on the building, and water will penetrate on the cracks, and there will be a hard time looking for the source of the water. So effects of dampness, number one is breeding of mosquito, moisture caused by unsightly patches, softening or plaster. So you can see now that there are what you call blistering of the walls, no? Blistering of the paint and blistering of the plaster. May cause efflorescence, disintegration of the stones and brick, no? So the structure will disintegrate, no? The concrete will be pulverized, no? And there will be a problem structurally. Cause of rusting and corrosion of metal fittings, no? So if there are what you call metal fittings on the, particularly on the wall or the floor, it will rust. Floor coverings are damaged, no? In case that you have a floor covering that is what you call a carpet, it will be damaged. If there will be a floor covering that is tiles, you can see watermarks underneath the tiles, no? Because of the presence of dampness on the slab underneath the tiles, okay? Because you did not put a blindside waterproofing. So precautions, the following precautions should be taken to prevent the dampness in the buildings before applying the various techniques and methods that will be described later. The site should be located on a high ground. So this is the principle that you should be considering, that you should select a site on a high ground, no? And the soil to be safeguarded against foundation dampness, no? If you will excavate a foundation, make sure that you put a damp proofing, no? It should be ensured that water level is at least 3 meters below the surface of the ground or the lowest point even in the wet season. So you need to make sure that you address or you look for the water table and create possible solution, either by making your ground floor higher than the water table and or making putting a waterproofing, a positive side or a blind side waterproofing on areas that is lower, no, than the water level. Okay. For better drainage, the ground level surface and building should also slope away. Okay, so all exposed walls should be of sufficient thickness to safeguard against rain penetration. If walls are bricks, they should be at least 30 meters thickness, no? So if you have a wall that is a brick or a hollow blocks wall, no, to address the water penetration, you can use a wall that is 30 centimeter thick. Good quality cement. Mortar should be used to produce a definite pattern and perfect bond in building units throughout the construction work. So it is very vital to use the proper type of concrete or cement, no? This is essential to prevent the formation of cavities occurrence in differential settlement. Cornices should be provided on window sills and copings on the plinth. It should be sloped on top and throttled on the undesirable to throw the rain and water away from the walls. So these are the different way to prevent the water dampness. So all exposed surface should be covered with waterproofing cement plaster. So everything that is exposed to weather you should put a waterproofing cement, no? And hollow walls are more reliable than solid walls in preventing dampness, no? Hence, the cavity wall construction should be adapted wherever possible. So I have discussed the cavity wall on the previous lectures, no? It is where you have two walls and there is a space in between them. So it means that if water will be penetrating on the first wall, it will not transfer to the second wall because there is a gap between the two walls, no? So that is what you call a cavity wall. Okay, so all the walls that are exposed through weather, you need to put a waterproofing cement, no? Not necessarily a waterproofing membrane.